some RLC circuit, okay? And let's say that there is one diagonal element also. Let's say that this is the circuit we are going to try to solve. So the first thing we are going to do is convert this to a graph. So we start putting the nodes. How many nodes are there in this?
4.
Okay. I mean, I'm not able to put more than 4 because it's easy, it's a square. So every element is connected across these two nodes. This is a connected graph, right? How many branches are there?
5.
Correct. So if this were a fully connected graph, that means if every node is connected to every other node, then you would have had 6 branches. But here you have only 5 branches. Okay. Now we are going to write the graph equivalent of it. So that would be and then we have to just draw the branches. Once we have come to this point, we don't have to worry about the individual elements. What we are trying to formulate is the mathematical equations. Okay, so there is a branch number 1 and say 2, 3, let's call this 5. So 5 branches and 4 nodes. So can you define that what would be a tree in this graph? What is a tree? What was the definition of tree? We said a tree is a subgraph whose properties are it contains all nodes, fine, it has no loops, so based on that, what can we say about this?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, okay.
ABCD.
Let's take 1, 2, 3. So it's the set of 1, 2, 3. Many trees are possible, right? So you can have 1, 2, 3, you can have 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, you can have 2, 5, 4, right? So make a list of all the trees and
Sir, I think 254 will not touch the B node.
why will 254 not touch B?
Okay, 254. Oh, okay, yes.
Okay. Similarly, 153. Now, so tree is basically a subgraph which contains all the nodes and it has no loops. So what is the property that we are seeing here? How many branches are there in the tree? 3 branches, right? So in general, how many branches are there in the tree?
1. N minus 1.
Correct. Where n is the number of nodes. So these are the properties of a tree. Fine. And what is a cotree? Cotree is also a subgraph containing what? All branches
Minus tree.
missing in the tree. Yeah. So that is like your all your original graph, original branches. You have, we said initially there are, so let's call this as number of nodes is 4, that we denote as n, and number of branches as b. Then we said that the subgraph has n minus 1 branches, and the tree, the subgraph which is a tree, it has n minus 1 branches, and now the co-tree has original tree has the original graph has b branches minus whatever is missing in the tree, right? So that's minus n minus 1, so that's equal to b minus n plus 1 branches. Fine. So what is the value here then? If we say the tree is 1, 2, 3, then what is the co-tree?
4, 5.
Okay. There is a specific terminology for this. This is called chords or links, because as you may read different textbooks or online different places, sometimes these are also called ties. Okay. Chords or links. And these are called twigs. Sometimes they're called twigs. Some people just call them as branches of the tree, but just keep these terminologies in mind. And then you have chords or the links. So now let's try to write down some quantities, okay? Some more definitions. The simplest that we'll start with is the incidence matrix. So what is an incidence matrix? Basically, before we go into that, we would have to discuss about what is a directed graph. Basically, a directed graph is any regular graph which is having all the orientations shown on it. Okay. Let me see. Now, what we can do is, we saw originally that there is some voltage source over here. Maybe that voltage source is something like this, plus and minus. And based on that, I have some general idea what might be the direction of current flow. So now I can start putting directions. I can say that the current flows like this. It goes here, goes here, goes here, goes here. Fine. Now, these directions or arrows are approximately drawn. It doesn't matter. When you solve the circuit, you will finally get the actual values of the current. So once you are able to put these arrows, then it is called a directed graph. Okay. Now, what we are going to do is try to come up with some strategies of how to set up these various Kirchhoff's current law, voltage law equations. You can see some interesting points here. For example, let's say that I'll just redraw the tree. So you said 1, 2, 3 is a tree. So we'll go with that. Now we have the tree here. Supposing I want to build a loop, right? I said that I have two chords, 4 and 5. Supposing I connect 4. Choose a different color. Supposing I connect 4, then what happens? I get a loop. Supposing I connect 5 in place of 4. Then also I get a loop, right? That means my circuit is closed. Until now I had no circuit. If I have a tree is not a circuit, right? Because there is no closed path. But once I put any chord, if I put a chord, then that chord forms the loop, and so you get a loop. And once you get a loop, then you can do loop analysis. That is like Kirchhoff's voltage law, right? So you can see where it is heading. When we have built these formal structures, then now you can take the basic skeleton. The basic skeleton is a tree, And then as you start adding components, like as I start adding a chord, then I start getting loops. So how many loops do I have in this circuit?
3.
What are the 3 loops?
Sir, 2, 5, 3,
Hmm.
1, 5, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
Correct. So basically you have 3 loops. Now when we are doing the basic analysis, supposing we have to find what are the number of equations we have to solve. Then normally when you're doing this Kirchhoff's voltage law, then you have to solve one loop and then you have to solve the second loop, right? And so we say the basic loops are the meshes. That means they don't enclose anything. So in a sense, you can have 2 meshes or you can have 3 loops in the circuit. So the point is that every chord that you have will help you come up with some connection that will help you then solve the circuit. So every chord is representative of one equation. Okay. Until I don't, if I have the basic tree, then I don't have any equation. But once I put in a chord, then I'm able to create a structure which allows me to have a enclosed loop, and therefore I can come up with an equation. So that's the basic idea over there. So let us take the concept now of the incidence matrix. So the basic incidence matrix is a rectangular matrix that has all the nodes as the rows and all the branches as the columns. Okay. And I'll explain to you how that works. Supposing if you consider this above case, we have 4 nodes A, B, C, D. So we are going to create a matrix, usually written as A subscript A. We are going to write the nodes as the rows. So nodes are A, B, C, D. And what are the columns? The columns are the branches. Okay. So this is like the node and branch interconnection. Now the columns would be, how many branches do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's write it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This is a matrix. So I'll put a square bracket here. And now what we are going to do is start populating the elements of this matrix. So how do we put these elements? So we'll have some rules for that. And the rules will be that whenever a branch enters a node, okay, so we are going row by row. So first I'm going to calculate for A, then B, then C, then D. So first I'm observing A. Whenever branch enters the node, it gets a value of -1. Whenever the branch exits a node, it gets the value of +1. And if the branch is unconnected, then it gets a value of 0. Okay. So this is the algorithm we are going to follow. Let's take for case of A. In A, which branch is entering A?
1.
1. So when the branch is entering A, what is the value I should put? -1. Fine. The branch 2 is exiting A, so I should put the value +1. Branch 3 is disconnected from A, 0. 4 is disconnected from A. 5 is also exiting A, so +1. Fine. Now tell me what are the values for the others. For B, 0, -1, 3 is +1, 4 is 0, 5 is 0. Fine. Then what about C? C is 0 with respect to 1. Everybody is clear about what's happening? 0 with respect to 2, 3 is entering C, 4 is exiting C, and 5 is also entering C. So -1. Fine. So what is the last one? D. +1, 0, 0, 4 is -1, and 5 is 0. Okay. So I have created an incidence matrix. On one side, I have all the nodes, and on the other side, I have all the branches. So this incidence matrix came from the basic graph, and the way I was able to draw it is because I defined some arrows. Okay, I defined some arrows using common sense, and they need not have to be correct necessarily in the sense of the final answer, but I'm going with some reference directions. And based on the reference directions, I came up with what is known as a incidence matrix. Do you see anything interesting in this incidence matrix, in the structure of it?
Sum of all the columns value equals to 0.
Yes. Sum of all the columns is equal to 0. Why do you think that is happening? Why is the sum of all columns 0?
So in a wire, if we take a KCL, then it will be 0 now.
If you take KCL,
Yes. I mean, you take only the one part and apply KCL, then what will happen? I mean, one current will either enter or either exit. It can't do anything else apart from entering or exiting.
correct. So the point is that whenever you have a branch, if you see that the columns are branches, right? And you know that what is a branch? A branch is a connection between two nodes. It is exiting one node and entering one node. It is branch 2 is exiting A and entering B. Branch 3 is exiting B and entering C. So whenever a branch exits someplace, it has to enter someplace. So when it's -1, that means it's entering A, and +1 means it's exiting D. Okay. So whenever you draw the incidence matrix, this is like a quick check. Just make sure that all your columns are adding up to 0. I mean, all your rows are adding up to 0. All the rows should add up to 0. That means you have done all the representations correctly. Supposing they are not adding up to 0, then that means you have missed some connection somewhere. Okay. So that's your incidence matrix.
I think it will be columns. All the columns are 0. Rows are the horizontal one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we should say columns. I'm like adding across the rows, but we should call it columns. You're correct. So all columns add to 0. Correct. Or instead of saying all columns, to be careful, let's say each column adds to 0. Fine. So that way, across any column, if you go down any column, if you add up everything, it will come to 0. Now, what this incidence matrix, basically what it is giving us is Kirchhoff's current law. So if you consider that I have a vector of currents, right? I have current which is flowing through element 1, current is flowing through element 2, element 3, element 4, and element 5. So I have 5 currents in the circuit. I can have a vector of currents which is given by a vector I1, I2, I3, I4, I5. Okay, so there are 5 currents. Now, if I want to find out how this is satisfying Kirchhoff's current law, then basically what I can write is that if I consider the matrix AA into the vector I, what do you get? So let's say that this is my matrix AA. These are my currents I. If I multiply this first row with this vector, then what am I getting out of it?
Sum of current at all the nodes.
Yeah, not all nodes. First node A.
First node and second node similar then.
Correct. So then it becomes similar. So first row means sum of currents at node A. So this is saying that minus I1, this is minus I1 plus I2 plus I5, right? So I2 plus I5 minus I1, because I2 and I5 are exiting the node and I1 is entering the node over here. As I1 is entering and I2, I5 are exiting, so we know that I1 is going to be equal to I2 plus I5, because sum of currents entering the node should be equal to sum of currents exiting the node. Fine. And so if you write it as I2 plus I5 minus I1 is equal to 0. So this is basically the equation for Kirchhoff's current law. So this is what is coming out of a incidence matrix. Now, one of the interesting thing is, from the matrix algebra perspective, because we say that every column adds up to 0, we actually don't need to solve this matrix for all 4 columns. You can take any one node as ground, as a reference node. Supposing if you're doing this simulation in SPICE, SPICE will not simulate. It will ask you which is the ground. You always have to put the ground first. So you can choose some node as ground. Let's say that I take here D as a ground node. Then D becomes like a reference value, and you can eliminate this row from D, this row D from the incidence matrix. So this is called a reduced incidence matrix. So here you basically eliminate, say we call it as a reference node. Eliminate the reference or ground node. So then my reduced incidence matrix will just be A. Okay. And that's basically what's here. I don't want to rewrite the whole thing. Fine. And this is my the reduced incidence matrix. It gives me all the linearly independent equations. Fine. See, how many unknowns do I have in my circuit? Supposing I'm giving you this circuit. Okay. I want to find out all the voltages and currents. So how many voltages and currents do I need to find out to solve the circuit? Normally, if you draw the circuit in SPICE, then it will give you an answer. It will tell you what is the voltage at A, what is the voltage at B, what is the voltage at C. It will tell you that first of all, you have to put a ground. So you will put the ground node. Then it will find out what is VA, VB, VC, and it will tell you what is I1, I2, I3, I4, I5. So essentially the unknowns you have are 3 voltages, A, B, C, and 5 branch currents. Okay. So you have n-1 nodes. Totally you have n nodes. Out of that, n-1 are unknowns. And similarly, you have B currents which are unknown. But in reality, you don't need to know both. Because if I know what are the nodal voltages, then I know the currents. Because if I know what are the circuit elements, supposing there's a resistance R over here, then I know that VB minus VA divided by R is the current. So in a sense, my unknowns are either the voltages or the currents. Both are not unknown to me. Okay. If I know one thing, if I know what are all the nodal voltages, then I can directly find out what are the currents. Or if I know what are the currents, then I can figure out what are the nodal voltages, because supposing D is ground, right? So D is ground over here. Then I know with respect to D, A's voltage is equal to the voltage of the voltage source. Then I know with respect to A, if there is some current flowing here, then there is some drop across this. So C is equal to A minus I times the drop across this resistor. So either I need to know all the voltages or I need to know all the currents. It's also possible to have a combination of voltages and currents. Fine. So this incidence matrix is basically telling you what are those linearly independent equations. And what we did is we eliminated from the original incidence matrix, we put one node as ground. Okay. And thus you got the reduced incidence matrix. We have to take one node as ground because when you're saying that I want to find out what is the voltages in the circuit, in the end of the day, the voltage source is connected between some active point and some ground terminal. So there has to always be a reference terminal. With respect to that only, you can find out what are the voltages, right? This is something I discussed in the first class itself. So that is what is going on here. And if you were to consider this original incidence matrix, then if you consider this fourth row, basically this fourth row, if you were to multiply with this vector over here, then what will the fourth row tell you? It will say that I1 minus I4 is equal to 0. If I1 minus I4 is equal to 0, it means I1 is equal to I4, right? So that is linearly dependent. I1 is equal to I4 already. So to solve the minimum number of equations, you need the minimum number of linearly independent equations, okay, for the unknowns. So that's what is happening here. And then if you were to take this reduced incidence matrix and multiply it with the value I equal to 0, then that gives you all the linearly independent equations. So as part of tutorial or homework, I will now give the problems that you need to solve using these methods. Okay. So far, is everybody following what happened?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The same reduced incidence matrix, I could have also, if I want to find out what is the voltage drop across all these elements over here. I want to find out what is the voltage drop across 1, what is the voltage drop across 2, voltage drop across 3. So if I know what is the value of VA, VB and VC, and I assume D is ground, then I can find that also just by doing a transpose version of it. So I could say that if I want to find out what is the voltages of the various branches. So this is matrix A, which is reduced incidence matrix. And let's say I want a vector of all the branch voltages, then that is going to be A transpose, okay, times vector of the nodal voltages. So fine. So here E would be EA, EB, EC. Okay. Now, if I were to take A transpose, right? How do I write A transpose? You guys have already done this all in linear algebra.
Columns are changes into row.
-1, 1, 0, 0, 1, then 0, -1, +1, 0, 0, and 0, 0, -1, +1, -1. Fine. And now if I were to do these equations, if I were to do this multiplication, then what do I get? The first one is minus EA. The second one is EB minus EA minus EB. The third one is EB minus EC, and so forth. So looking back at that circuit, what we are saying is the first voltage is minus EA, okay, and we said A is that value over here, and we said D is ground. That means with respect to D, since I'm going in this direction, I'm saying the voltage here is minus EA, okay. That is the voltage across this branch is minus EA. Similarly, in the case of the second one, we said EA minus EB, because the thing is directed in this way. So the voltage drop is EA minus EB. And similarly, EB minus EC. So you get the point. So that's what is coming out of this transpose equation. Fine. So you're getting the branch voltages. So this is basically what you get out of the incidence matrix. And the incidence matrix is nothing but a mathematical, a graphical way of representing the connections between the various branches and the nodes. And it basically leads to either your Kirchhoff's current law or voltage law. Okay. Primarily Kirchhoff's current law here, because we are doing kind of, Kirchhoff's voltage law, because you're adding up the currents. No, so sorry, Kirchhoff's current law, because you're adding up the currents at a node. Fine. So this is basically your nodal analysis. That's what we have accomplished through this process. There is one other interesting concept. Maybe I'll take it up in the next class, but there is this idea of duality. Okay. I'll also talk a little bit about loop analysis that will have to do with using these concepts of chords and links, which is what I told you earlier. Now what happens is, for every chord or link, I create a loop. And because I create a loop, I now can do KVL in this loop. Okay. So what we did so far is more like KCL. We did the nodal analysis using incidence matrix, and then maybe next time we'll look at the chords and links and do KVL. There's just one interesting concept that you should also be aware of, which is called duality. We will discuss that also in more detail next time. But duality means that in any network, you're basically writing as a set of equations. Supposing you have a RLC network. And you have some voltage. Okay. And there's some current. So you're applying some voltage and finding some current. So what is the equation that you have to write over here? If you want to know what is the equation of this system, you have to say that V is the voltage is equal to the sum of the voltage drops across this whole circuit, right? So V is equal to IR plus L di by dt plus 1 by C integral I dt. The concept of duality is very interesting. It says that if you were to replace the variables, replace V with I, L and C, okay, so I'll call it like this, there, and R with some conductance, okay, then essentially what you can do is you will get a dual circuit of this, which will have the same equation. That means now what I will write it is I, V has been replaced with I is equal to V by R or V into G, conductance, plus L is replaced by C, I is replaced by V, plus again C is replaced by L, and integral I is replaced with V. Okay. So this is also very cool feature of network graphs. So when you see from the graphical perspective, then these two things, equations, are duals of each other. Okay. And what would be the dual circuit for this? We are saying that there is a current which is equal to some voltage times conductance. So this is I1, I2, I3, right? I is C dV by dt, 1 by L integral V dt. So I have three currents which are adding up to give me one net current. So what kind of circuit is this? I have a conductance. I have a capacitance. And I have a inductance. So these are called dual circuits. Basically, there is a neat relationship. That is, if you draw the circuit, you have a series RLC circuit with a voltage source. It became like a parallel RLC circuit with a current source. Okay, and those equations are mathematically dual of each other's. That means if you simply replace the resistors with a conductor, that is R by 1 by R, and if you replace the L with a C and replace the C with a L, replace the I's with a V and the V with the I, you get a dual network. So this is also something we will discuss a little more in the next class. Okay, so I'll stop here for today's class, and then we'll take it up more in the next session.